Hello everyone, and welcome to the last homeschool show and tell collab video of this school year. I can't believe we're here already. We actually homeschool year round, so we have another almost 2 months left before we take our longest break, but we are doing reflections. We're reflecting on the year. I'm going to share with you what record keeping that I do for our girls who are 6 and 8 currently, almost 7 and 9. And you'll be able to see a playlist with all of the other mamas here on YouTube who are doing the same thing. This is hosted by Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from the Waldock Way. So thank you two for hosting this collab every month. It's been so much fun to be a part of it, and I look forward to it next year if it continues as well. But for now, let's jump right into our reflections and record keeping. Okay, if you're just here for record keeping, skip to the time that you see on the screen here. That's where I start talking about that. It's going to be very brief because it is not very involved. But if that's all you're here for, go ahead and skip to that. Okay, so I've been trying to figure out what I want, what approach I want to take for this video. And honestly, I thought for a long time I was going to do kind of a reflection on each curriculum, what worked, what didn't, all of that good stuff. I'm sure a lot of the mamas here are going to do that as well, so that's going to be really useful, and I'm excited to watch those videos. But then I was like, but I'm going to do a curriculum haul slash what we're using for the next school year in the next month or so, and we're using so much of the same stuff that I feel like it would be repetitive because I'm going to be talking about specific curriculum stuff in that video. So instead of taking that approach, I want to talk about what our strengths and weaknesses were. And I also asked Bailey and Quinn what they loved the most, what they would add or change, and what they're most proud of learning this year. So I will share that with you guys as well. But I'm going to start with what I feel like our strengths and weaknesses were. And the weaknesses will be first, that honestly mostly is me. And I don't say that in a self-deprecating kind of a way. Everybody has weaknesses, and I just think it's important to recognize those weaknesses so you can work on them and change them. And so that's what I mean when I say that. But it really, the biggest weakness was my lack of consistency in planning and being prepared. And my word of 2022 is preparation, and that's something I have been striving to get better at, because when I'm prepared, whatever it may be for, it just goes much smoother, and I have less anxiety surrounding whatever task that may be, and it just feels more peaceful all around. And so I definitely struggled a little bit with that. There were a lot of big events that happened over this past school year. My husband and I got married in December, which took up the whole first part of our school year. Was just wedding planning and insane crazy busyness. So that was something that we had kind of conflicting with our school schedule, but just normal life stuff, of course. And I just need to get better at being better prepared and planning. And so reflecting on to next year, my plan for that is to take this summer and literally plan out and prepare everything. And I don't mean on this day we're going to do this topic, on this day we're going to do this topic. I mean getting all of the supplies. And so our history curriculum, our science curriculums, they all require extra things for projects and things like that. And what I want to do is get a bin for each one and get all of the supplies other than anything that's perishable, obviously. Get all of the supplies together and put them into a container, and maybe even put a post-it note in there or something with the non-perishable supplies that I would need and what lesson I would need them for, so that I don't have to flip through the curriculum and go, okay, what do I need this week, each weekend, and frantically go to the grocery store at 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday because I don't have what we need for the week, and just take that hecticness out of it, because that was one of the main weaknesses of our school year. And I think that's going to be the one that I focus on the most. I'm sure there are probably, if I think about it, I didn't sit and think about what I was going to say for this video. I'm just kind of letting this flow. I feel like that's more natural. So I'm sure if I thought about it, I can think of some more minor weaknesses, things that could be better. But that's the main one. And I think if we can tackle that, then things for them will be much more fun, because I won't be as stressed out and anxious. So that's going to be the plan for the next year, reflecting on that. And then for strengths, I think Gosh, there were so many things that went so much better this year. Our girls are first grade and third grade, what would be considered first and third grade. And Bailey, my older one, this is her first official year of homeschooling. And by that I mean in our state, Washington State, you are educationally free until they turn 8 years old. And so this was her first year of where we had to file our declaration of intent to homeschool, and she's doing an annual assessment next month as well. So it's kind of like the first official year for her. She's my easy one though. She definitely loves school. She takes after me. And so one of the strengths that we had this year was just her like independent ability to do her work completely blossomed. This girl, like last year, it was a lot of, you know, me with her, teaching her the subjects and helping her through things. This year, or like teaching her the subjects and then she would do a worksheet on her own about it or a project or something. But this year, honestly, like I could just hand her like math book and she would just like read it and do it. Like she has a way of independent learning that is just so admirable for an 8-year-old. Like I can't even believe how just self-sufficient she is with it, and she loves it. Like she'll come downstairs and I'm not even ready for school. Like I'm still getting breakfast ready and she'll be like, "Can I start my school now, Mom, while you make breakfast?" And I'll be like, "Of course." Of course, I'm not going to say no to that. So I still do sit with her for language arts and stuff, just not because she needs it, honestly, but because there are like dictate this to your child and have them write it on the board, or reading the stories. It's just like fun time together. So we do that together still. But almost all of the rest of her curriculum she does completely on her own, like while I'm working with Quinn or getting lunch ready or whatever the case may be. So extremely proud of her for that. And that was a huge, huge strength of this year. Now, when it comes to Quinn, she blossomed this year as well. And she is definitely more of my free spirit child. She loves to just be creative. She loves to play. She loves to just like kind of let her mind run with whatever is in it. And the way her mind works is so fascinating to me because it's so opposite of how my mind works that it's really fun to watch. And I think the reason why that's the case is because of the reading curriculum that we use. So I mentioned I wasn't going to talk specifically about curriculum, but this specific one, it really was a huge strength this year. And we've used this for the last few years with her since she was 4, I believe is when she started. But it just clicked this year, and she has blossomed so much as with her reading. She's able to read a lot of books on her own, pretty much all of the Dr. Seuss books on her own, and there'll be words she stumbles on and stuff. So building that strength up for her was a huge strength in our homeschool as well. This year also was a year of figuring out how we are going to homeschool with a toddler around. We have River will be 2 in June, and he is a ball of energy. And so it took a little bit of kinks and trying to figure out what was going to work. And then I feel like once we figured out a good routine, his nap schedule would change or something would happen, or he'd be going through teething or something like that. And it would just become a lot harder. And then we'd have to kind of refigure it all out again. But I feel like that was actually a really big strength of ours, was finding ways to do the parts of school where we needed to really actually focus and pay attention while he was napping, and then do the more fun parts, like including him. So obviously he's 1, so he's not going to be like doing worksheets and answering questions and stuff. But if the girls are coloring or doing their handwriting while I'm doing our read aloud, maybe he can color a picture or use color wonder markers, or we have this water mat on our door upstairs that he can paint with or something, like keeping him like involved somehow similarly to what they're doing. And that was a big strength of ours. It was not easy at all. So if you have a toddler and you have tips for how to homeschool with a toddler, what do you do, then please let us know in the comments, because I'm sure it will help a lot of people. And I always am looking for new ideas as his interests and energy levels change and nap schedules change and all of that fun stuff. But I feel like that was a big strength of ours, is incorporating him, making him feel included in age appropriate ways, and then doing the kind of focus stuff where it needs to be a little bit more serious while he was napping. So that was really, really good this year. And it'll be interesting to see how this next year goes when he's 2 and 3, closer to the end of the school year next year. So that will be fun for sure. Another strength that I feel like we accomplished this year was on my part, and it was just relaxing a little bit. With the wedding planning, it was so necessary to just take a deep breath, realize that if we're not getting all of the extra fun stuff done, if we're not doing Spanish and science and history or something twice a week like I want to, that they're fine. Like it's okay. We're gonna be able to pick it back up when we have time to, and get it done. And it's not a matter of checking boxes, it's a matter of the experience. And so I am a very type A personality, and it's hard for me to switch off. And I feel like this was the first year I had a really good, not really good, I guess I had a better time doing that, and I would consider that a strength, because I do 2 weeks of planning at a time and checking off, well, highlighting, you'll see in my record keeping. Each of those things is such a satisfying thing for me, but for our whole family as a whole, that's not always going to happen. Like, we're not always going to get to finish everything we wanted to finish in a week. And I was able to just kind of let loose and let that go a little bit more, to the point where, yeah, we're going a little bit more into the summer than we usually would to finish things up, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We homeschool, we have freedom, we have flexibility, we can homeschool on weekends, we can school together with Anthony when he's home. There's so many different things we can do to make it fun and exciting, change the routine up, and still accomplish the tasks that we want to accomplish without me getting stressed out or anxious about them like I used to, a lot more than I did this year. So definitely another strength as well. Okay, and now I'm going to share with you guys what Bailey and Quinn said before we go into record keeping. And I asked Quinn first, and she said that her favorite thing that we did this year was science. We used the good and the beautiful for science. She loves it. We've done a few different units this year, and I'll list those off in the curriculum video that's coming up soon, and then show you what we're going to do for next year. But she loves science. She loves the projects. She loves just learning about different things other than just reading, writing, and math. And it's just, she's more of a hands-on type of kid, and so science is definitely her forte. And then when I asked her what she would add or change for next year, she said more science. So I think I do, it was kind of something on my mind I would like to do. My original goal was to do science twice a week. We ended up doing it about once a week. So I would love to get back to twice a week and give her that more science that she craves, because that's another beauty of homeschooling, is you can do that. You can follow the leads of your kids, and Bailey loves it too, so it works. And that's something that with River, we can incorporate him in a little bit more with some of the hands-on stuff that's age appropriate for him as well. So more science was her request for next year. And then what she was most proud of for herself was learning how to read. And I knew that's what she was going to say, because she would always, like the girls always, they have bunk beds, they have their own beds, but they always are up in Bailey's bed, and Bailey's always reading to her, or they're playing school in bed or something like that. And it's just the cutest thing ever. But now she can read to Bailey. And so a lot of times I'll go up there to check on them, and she'll be reading to Bailey. We usually give them about an hour in their bed once they've, been tucked in and said goodnight, brushed their teeth, all of that stuff. We have a little timer that they get anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what time it is, where they can just read in bed or draw or whatever they want to do, just kind of like wind down before the night's over. And that has created such a good bond with them too. So that is fun. But yeah, learning how to read, she's extremely proud of herself for that. And then for Bailey, I asked her what her favorite was, and she said everything. Again, I wasn't surprised. She said she loved everything that we did. I asked her what she would change and add, and she said nothing. And so she said, I just love school how it is. It's great. And she's going to go with the flow with anything. Like, I don't think there are definitely school subjects that are harder for her at first that she doesn't get right away. And she, at first, when that happens, when something's a little bit harder for her, she tends to like say that she doesn't like it. But then as she learns and gets better at it, like she did cursive this year, and that was one of those things where at first it was like kind of hard for her, but she figured it out, and now she loves it. And so it's not that she doesn't love the subject, it's that she doesn't love it when things are hard, because a lot of things come easy for her, which is how I was as a kid and still am, and it's something you have to work through. So but yeah, she would change nothing. And then what she's most proud of learning this year is multiplication and division. She was really excited about that when she first, we've been building the blocks for multiplication and division with grouping and all of that kind of stuff for a couple years now, but she actually got to do full-on multiplication and division this year, and she's actually pretty good at it. So she is really, really proud. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about is record keeping. How do we keep records? Our state does not require record keeping. Really, the only thing that nothing is required to be turned in anywhere. So anything that we are required to keep, we're to keep for our own records. And that's really just to protect our own butts in case something ever were to happen where somebody challenges our parenting skills or calls CPS on us or something like that. So once they turn 8, you have to file that declaration of intent to homeschool. So I definitely keep copies of that. So once they turn 8, you have to file that declaration of intent to homeschool, which just like basically says, hey, my kid is being schooled at home, don't mark us truant, essentially. And you can mail that into your school district or you can email it, which is what I did. And then she sent me back a stamped copy of it, and I just have that in our records just in case, just to say that yes, I've done that. So that's number one. That's pretty easy to do each year. And then they're also required to do an annual assessment, and this can take so many different forms. It does not have to be a test. Bailey is doing a test because she loves tests. Like when she sees it, it's time for a grammar test or something, she like celebrates. And so she's going to be doing a test, but I'm pretty sure for Quinn, when we get her to that point, she'll be doing more of a portfolio type assessment where we just keep a portfolio of her work in all of the different subjects to show her learning. And I'm literally keeping that in a file. And that's it. Like, it's probably never going to get pulled out again other than us to look at it, but we do have it in case legally we need it in the future. But then for my own personal preference, I use the Happy Planner, the teacher planner edition of the Happy Planner, to do my planning for each week. And I do, like I said, I do usually 2 weeks at a time, sometimes only 1 week, but I basically just like see what's next, and each day that we're schooling, I write one lesson and for each subject and figure in what days we're going to do history and Spanish and science and all of the fun family activities, and then I write them in. And so this is what one of the spreads looks like. I just basically write the title of the subject on the top right there, and then this is Monday through Friday along the side right here, and then I just write what they're going to be doing, and then once they're done with it, I highlight it. So that is literally all I do for record keeping, because now like I can put this with the 2021-2022 portfolio and declaration copy and just kind of have it all together in one spot, and I can look back and see like on this day we studied this because we did this unit in this topic or whatever the case may be. So that's my record keeping. Don't do anything crazy. I don't have to because luckily the state doesn't require that, and it's sufficient for what we need to do. So I'm curious to see what everyone else does for their record keeping, so I'm really excited to watch these videos. I hope that you enjoyed this, maybe got some tips if you're a homeschooler yourself, and that you click subscribe down below because I would love for you to join our YouTube family here. I do lots of videos on everything related to motherhood, basically, with occasional vlogs sprinkled in on the kind of special days that we have as a family. So for now, remember to stay humble, be kind, and I will see you next time.